told you it would be
Did anybody
too long.
actually time that? Was that like even a minute?
Yeah, I don't know time, so it's hard for me to distinguish how much time passed, but I feel like it was within the time frame we
I feel pretty
addressed.
certain it was less than a minute.
Hopefully less than a minute to load up where we were. I might take the herbalism skill as suggested here just to have more on hand quick press up, do heal. Because it sucks, like, when I keep things on that, like, whistle, that I have to, like, scroll through to find the health thing, because there's so many other things to select for the down button.
You don't ever have to scroll through to find the health thing.
What do you mean?
If you're talking about using herbs to heal? Like
No, for potions.
Potions, okay.
Yeah, like if, say, my health pouch is empty, and I need to use a health potion, it kind of sucks to have to, like, scroll through in mid-battle and find the right one, because there's, like, so many.
I might be wrong about this, but I think you can set what goes on that scrolly list so that you only have the stuff that you actually use on it.
That would be nice.
I may be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure you can set that up.
Can you utilize those things from the pause menu?
No.
Dang, because it would be nice.
I don't think, although again, double check me on that.
Yeah, hold up. You know, I could probably do that right now. I could probably be all like, go into my inventory bits here. Go to inventory, go to traps and potions, and then go to the regular health potion. Nope, it doesn't give me an option to use it, so dang. And then if I go through my quick menu bit here, I don't see an option to tell me to exclude things I don't use often. So probably always going to be a have to scroll through. But if I get familiar with my scroll through thing, I could probably be like, remember to go to the right. If I keep it on my whistle thing option off and just go right instead of left, and then I'll get to it quicker than I would going all the way through the left and to the things that are there. I hardly use rocks. Maybe I should stop collecting rocks so I don't have them as even an option. It looks like I do have the call steed option now, which is nice. I should start utilizing that more so I can get to places faster. Thank you for the lurk, Cosmics. See you when you get back from your lurk if you do. And enjoy your time lurking, whatever it is you're doing while you're lurking. Let's see, what was it that I had to do next. My current active quest is A Daughter's Vengeance. Yan, a young Nora, is worried about his sister Nakoa, who left the Sacred Lands to find their father's killer. If I go to the show on map, it's way over here. Let's see, how do I zoom out? I can't fast travel. Oh, it's okay, right stick is to zoom out. There's a cauldron nearby there. But I think there's a lot of stuff here that we can get to before we go there. Go to the Valor Meat Hunting Grounds. That's probably one of those side quests where you do a challenge type thing. I'm currently in a corrupted zone, so I should probably take care of that. Let's actually go back to quests. I gotta go to Devil's Grief to take care of some stuff there, wipe out things. The one I currently have active is this one. The Devil's Vengeance. Wait, what was the other main quest? A Seeker at the Gate. Where is that? That's pretty close by. Maybe we could do that.
Do what?
A Seeker at the Gates. To unravel the conspiracy against her, Aloy must leave the Sacred Land to the Nora tribe, but an infestation of corrupted machines stands in her way, so I gotta take care of all the corrupted machines. Is it just this one, or is it, like, all of them? We also have going to Red Echoes to get Revenge of the Nora stuff, which is one of the main quests. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go to Red Echo thingies to wipe out Devil's Grief thing, because I'm pretty sure I have a side quest that's related to that as well. So 2 birds, 1 stone, as they say. That one is that one. Okay, yeah, let's go.
Wait, go back to the map.
No problem. I'm in the map.
Zoom out.
There's something way
okay.
down here, but that's one of those hunter grounds things where we can get extra like equipment. By
Can I grab that real quick?
challenges. Yeah, go ahead.
Just to pan around the map, I want to see something. Oop. So okay, I think I've been misreading this the whole time.
How so?
About like Nora tribes existing in places that weren't the Embrace, but I don't think I think I was under the impression that this area here was the entirety of All Mother's Embrace, but I think I was wrong about that. I think it's all this actually.
Yeah, anything that's not currently
Like all of
obscured.
that is even up here
Oh,
counts as All Mother's Embrace, but like then the lands outside are this is the pathway to that, and then all of this is what's outside the Embrace. I think. I think I just had a wrong idea about the actual border.
but even so, the area we're at is close to that border that you're saying is the probable border. So it still stands the culture of folks living on the border of anything, because that's a transitionary experience, which is different than the in and out experience. There's anything in nature comes in threes. There's always a transition into something, which is going to be an inherently different experience than the in and the out. So to talk about how we, from last stream we did, and you were talking about how like people that live on the border of something should have a different perspective than those that are sheltered within. So I would say the folks that we're talking to here might still be like the dialogue options we've had with them and stuff, and the way they've expressed themselves isn't exactly what it should be, and then that's a fault on the writer's part.
Kind of an anthropological misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will have her go here, because this is still in this area, and somewhat of a main quest thing. Which is this way! Which, oh, I have this now. Let's call us a steed, a mighty steed. East the Gurn, where are you?
Tech the guard.
Tech the Gurn. I like that. I love you.
I love you.
I would like a smooch. if
Would you?
you're up to- Yeah, I always want a smooch from you, like, constantly.
I don't know why I'm like playing fool. It's
Ooh, that was an extra long smooch. Any extension of an experience of you is worthwhile.
Aww.
I love
I
you.
love you.
Oh, that was nice. Thank you. Y'all can't see it, but he's looking at me so endearingly. So I'm thinking of a word. Give me a moment. So enamored. So deeply affectionate. And it makes me so happy.
I love you.
I love you. Ah, no smooch. Let's kill robot dinosaurs now.
Yeah.
Together, as a family, as a experience.
Aw, KB.
What did KB say? Oh
One
gosh!
day I hope I have something like you two have.
Aww.
I
Thank you.
honestly, genuinely, really, really hope you do too.
Yeah. We all should get to
Not to, like,
experience it.
Rub anything in anyone's faces, but in all sincerity, what Rhiannon and I have is the most genuinely real and open connection I've ever had with another person.
Yeah. That means a lot to me for how my brain works. Like, it's hard for me to make connections socially with people.
Same.
Because of the way my brain drugs give out the dopamine versus the cortisol.
It's so hard to form meaningful connections because how exhausting it is just to be around other people, let alone
Yeah.
like trying to find meaningful connection. And so when you find somebody who, it's weird. I want to say recharges, but that's not even really the right word. Like, just being around you is sustaining.
Sustaining, yeah, that's a good word.
Like, you make me feel better just by being around.
Yeah.
And it's not energy consumed to be around you, and it's not something I have to work to do.
Yeah.
It's just like a natural state of being, and
it
it's
fits.
I feel better when we're together than when we're not. And when we're not, I don't feel like it's not like a detriment. I don't feel like harmed by not being like in your immediate vicinity. But every time we're together, it's just better.
Yeah.
And it makes existing more fun and easier. And
Yeah. And I want to point out how, like, folks can find that in ways that aren't romantic.
Yeah.
In whatever, to reference back to KB's having something like we have, that might not be the same exact way.
yeah,
that
it
we
may
have.
not take exactly the same form.
But there is an aspect to every person's existence, and they finding that same comfort and experience that completes them in that way.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. It can be in friendship. It can be in like I don't want to say professional, but in the aspect of finding a person, maybe that ties back into friendship, but someone that like enhances your experience of doing a passion you enjoy. That's like just a way of fulfillment. Fulfillment, I think, is the key word there.
Yeah.
That you can find someone that makes existence more bearable.
Or even pleasant.
Yeah, for pleasant and worthwhile, and that you can
Rewarding.
and rewarding. Yeah. And I always want to point that out because, like, asexuality is a thing.
Aromanticism.
Aromanticism is a thing. And there's probably even more experiences outside of that we haven't even fully, like, understood.
That probably exists that we haven't been societally exposed to enough to even have words for yet.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, like, a decade ago, was it common to hear anything in the form of ace discourse or trans discourse?
Yeah.
Like, was non-binary a word?
but it
Was
was
pansexual
still
a word?
a
Like,
thing
no,
that
but we
existed.
didn't actually have words to describe these many experiences. But they existed. They just weren't in, like, common enough understanding that the words that described them were well known.
Yeah.
And there's probably a lot of experiences that people have now that there simply aren't words yet to describe.
But as long as we
But
try our best to include them and to understand them.
To have an open mind enough to expect that there are experiences we don't yet have descriptors for, those descriptors will come to exist
Yeah.
as long as we continue to care about people.
To be kind and open to understanding those unknowns rather than pushing back.
Rather than pushing back, because, like, more often than not, at least I find in my own experience, is a lot of these words that exist now that either barely existed or didn't exist any number of years ago are words, are terms that describe me, describe my own experience really accurately, that I didn't know about, and left me really concerned and confused for the experience that I was having.
Like me with non-binary. Growing up, there was no non-binary. That wasn't even a thing anyone ever mentioned to me that could be a thing. And I was just labeled as the tomboy. You know, that I was the girl that acted more like a boy but wasn't a boy. And it was through the lens of the binary trying so
Yep.
desperately to find a word for it, but not able to.
Very much same for me with non-binary. That like, despite by most accounts, most things about me being expressively masculine, from my appearance to my voice to my attitude, being incredibly uncomfortable with what masculinity was presented to me as by most people who self-identified as masculine.
Yeah.
I never wanted any part of that. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be anything like literally a single one of the people who ever told me to man up. I hate that.
Yeah.
All that ever meant to me was deny who you are and stop feeling the way you feel about things.
Yeah, and just do the role that's assigned to you.
Yeah, and I hate that. I hate that kind of prescriptivism. I get furious with that kind of prescriptive idea of what a masculine person should be like. And so for a long time I've struggled with what is me as a masculine person, what is me as a man, what is me as a and I have come around to, if there is such a slim definition of what constitutes a man, then I'm definitely not one, and I'm not comfortable with anyone referring to me as one. Same with well, it's pretty heavily tied into masculinity, but my sexual identity, not just my orientation, but my like participation style, as in asexuality, like I'm demisexual, and that is so, like, that's the middle ground between allosexual and asexual. And yet, despite that it's the middle ground between those two things, it's still so far removed from the normal idea, normal as in like mainstream societally accepted typical idea of what constitutes quote unquote normal sexual attraction, that it falls way more into the no one knows what the hell I'm talking about when I use the term, because like what the fuck, what, first of all, I'll admit to it being a very strange term. Like it's hard to interpret. It's hard to understand what it means just by the word itself. Demisexual is kind of, it's not very specific as a term.
It's a spectrum of a spectrum.
Yeah, basically. And so it's like, it's difficult to tell if a person says, oh, I'm demisexual. Like, if you don't already know what that term means, it's really hard to parse out what that person's experience of sexuality is. Because it is kind of a meaningless phrase.
I think we're still in that transitionary period of, we're assigning labels to our experiences that can help us understand our experiences, but don't necessarily fully extrapolate on the spectrum of it. Like, it's still a step towards more to uncover.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would help for certain things if we had more immediately understandable descriptive phrases for. Because there are things that are actually pretty simple, even if they're far removed from whatever the typical experience is. Like with demisexuality, like I guess to get into the weeds of it a little bit, like I can look at other humans and find things about them physically attractive.
The aesthetically pleasing aspects.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not just an appreciation for the beauty of it. Like, there is a sexual dimension to it, but it's incredibly shallow and incredibly short-lived. So, like, I can see somebody with like a particularly attractive ass or abs or tits or pecs or
Whatever their
nicely defined
physical-
arm muscles, or a nice, like, soft looking belly, or thick thighs, or high cheekbones, or whatever. And, like, I mean, I guess I could just go on and on about, like, naming typically attractive physical features, but, like, my point is, there's a moment of seeing those things that makes you go, ooh, oh, fuck. But literally, it's a moment. Like, that doesn't carry.
Yeah.
There's nothing about that makes me get going. It's just a very quick, like, oh, nice sort of reaction. Mm-hmm. And then that trait disappears because it's really not important to me and doesn't sustain attraction. My attraction to another person is based almost solely on, like, what kind of person they are, or who they are, what they're like.
Yeah.
And then the cool knock-on effect of that is that the more attractive I find a person as a human, like, what, like, the better a person they are, basically. Like, the more we align, the more I find them attractive for, like, completely personal reasons, personality reasons. The more physically attractive I find them, like, that matters so much more to me, and not in a moral way, not like in a kind of like, oh, I don't really care what you look like. It's not one of those bullshit fucking, you know, oh, I don't really care what people look like. I'm just into what kind of person they are, the kind of way that people use to hand wave them basically having extreme ideas about how people are or are not attractive, when what they're really doing is just, like, making excuses for finding particular things attractive.
I think I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, to put this in more, like, I don't want to say layman's terms exactly, but, like, to simplify this, if you asked me, assuming heteronormativity, are you a boob man or an ass man? I'd say I'm a whatever my partner has man. And then I'd slap you in the face for forcing me to refer to myself as a man.
Yeah.
And it's not about boobs or asses. It's about, like, I just am most attracted to whoever I currently love. And I genuinely don't have a preference for a particular set of physical traits. I make myself aroused by looking at a chair.
Oh, Zai, hello. Welcome. Hey, chairs got such edges, you know?
Or curves, depends on the chair.
Yeah, it depends on the chair. See, that's the point. It's our attachment to the chair, and then extrapolating on, celebrating the aspects of the chair from the base of the chair.
And Cosmix is back, and internet is fixed. Fantastic.
Oh, heck yeah! I'm glad you got that settled
and
out.
yes, Snow, and you
Snow
get
is
what I
awesome.
mean, Christopher. I'm glad you do.
Gaming chairs are hot. They are, though. Like, I've had a gaming chair before, and it was pretty awesome. But it was the experience of the chair that drew my attraction to it, not the shape of it that drew me towards it.
The most attractive chair is the one in front of your computer.
Yeah, because it's the one you choose to be with you.
No, but Cosmix, I appreciate you saying that, because, like, I do get a little bit worried when I talk about this really openly, is because I know this isn't everyone's experience, and I know that, like, there are kind of things about being demisexual that seem contradictory, that seem kind of mutually exclusive. Like, that you can have primary sexual attraction and response, and then that it's also incredibly unimportant and like goes away so quickly, like so quickly as to make it basically zero part of your motivation for communicating with other people that you might be attracted to, or that it basically like that sex becomes not an option with somebody that you don't have a close personal connection to. That like for a demisexual, you aren't fully sexually attracted to a person with whom you have no emotional connection. It's one of those like middle grounds, just like bisexuality, that like it's not necessarily true anymore, but there was a time in the past where, well, it's not even entirely over, where people who identify as bisexual got basically erased by both the straight and the gay communities for a bunch of bullshit made up reasons. And I feel like that's not to say that demis face the same exact kind of opposition or struggle, but that we occupy kind of a weird space, a weird sort of middle space in the realm of human sexual attraction that most people can't conceive of, and that I don't know, it's just an awkward position to be in that most people don't understand.
I look at it as a over time we'll understand more thing, because like with the binary, it started off as you're one or the other, and as we learned more, we said, okay, there's a middle ground. But within that middle ground, there is an extremity of one or the other. And as we go through time and understand more, we start to see more in that spectrum. And then there's even more, like within that spectrum, there's their one or the other. And then we go deeper into that spectrum and say, okay, and it's kind of a nested, to use something we can understand, like nested threads. So you have your binary, one or the other, and then you go into that spectrum of the one or the other, the in between, and go, okay, well now there's this, and with this, you go, okay, even more deeper into the spectrum of that, this or this, and it keeps going and going and deeper until we understand everyone. And it's a good thing to keep doing that, but it just sucks that it takes so long to delve into those aspects. Like with me and I'm Grace, and I'm sure over time I'll even niche more into finding more about what is my specific aspect in that spectrum. Like to compare to the demisexuality, Grace, I have more of an aspect of, I can look at a person and go, oh, you're aesthetically pleasing, but what goes into the sexual aspect isn't anything visual or whatever, perceiving in that way. It's heavily reliant on of how I connect to you as a person that allows me to find a sexual experience.
See, I think that's like the primary difference, which is very slight, between demisexuality and your gray asexuality.
Yeah, like, we hold hands, but there still is a difference.
Yeah, there is a slight difference, and like the difference is that I do find other people physically attractive, and that there is a sexual component to that from time to time, depending on the particular person and depending on the particular characteristic. It's a broad range of things. Like there's a lot, but like none of that results in anything, and I couldn't just have a random hookup. That's not possible for me. I can't, like, a one-night stand is basically off the table. I couldn't, like, because there is a requirement of a personal connection. If there's no emotional bond between me and another person, then, like,
it doesn't feel fulfilling.
No, it's not that.
Okay.
That would be true. It's just that, like, it couldn't even get as far as that, because, like, if there's no emotional bond, if there's no, like, emotional connection, if I don't feel like I know you at all, if I don't feel like I can trust you, if I don't have a real connection to you emotionally, sex is off the table.
Yeah.
Like, the physical equipment will not work even if I wanted it to, and I probably don't. Like, I don't want to have a sexual relationship with someone I don't know and trust and love to some degree, whether that's like a truly deep romantic love or at least the kind of enduring connective social love. Like, those are two entirely different things too, but like either one of those does mean a sexual relationship can happen, and that's cool, that's okay. Like, love means different things, sex means different things, but if I don't know you at all and I've got absolutely no connection to you, no emotional connection, no amount of knowing you, then that's just not what's gonna happen.
Yeah. And I can understand that in some aspects. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then for me, being gray ace, there's the aspect of, like, I can have hookups, and I have had excellent hookups where it was really fun, because for me it's more the sensory experience of, like, oh, this is the thing we're doing that feels good, so I'll go along with it. But ultimately, the best experiences, like with you, have been the deeper connection that allowed that sensory experience to be added upon.
Yeah.
And so that's where we differ, but at the same time we cross, because we have that aspect of needing a deeper connection in order to make it better.
That, like, for me, that's what's necessary, but for you, that's what enhances it. And so,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
We've got that intersection of want on one side and need on the other side, and it, like, definitely, yeah, it enhances things,
Yeah.
makes it better.
And I'm glad we found each other, and that we have these experiences of ourselves that interlopes. Is that the right word?
No.
Intersects?
Yes.
That's the word.
Yeah.
There we go. That allowed us to basically go wah into each other, you know? That even though we have this distinct difference, the connecting part is what holds it together.
That
and
they've
makes
both
it
really
better.
got a pretty similar kind of compatibility style. Like, we've got exclusions that are not at all similar, but like the inclusions that we have are at such a perfect crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
They mesh really well.
Yeah, and then once we find and connect with each other, they just keep building that mesh until it's one awesome mesh. And we've bred and teleported a little bit here to go back to KB's original statement of wanting to have something like that. Power to you, KB, and I hope you find the thing that meshes well with you, whatever form that takes.
I hope that too. You deserve it. You're good people.
We all deserve to have a good experience in life while we're experiencing it. Because what is life but to have experience? Like, life is an experience, make it a good one. And we shouldn't dictate what that means. There shouldn't be a person saying, hey, y'all, this is my experience and this is how I feel it, so you all should obviously have that same thing to be good. Like, no. We should all have good in the way that we need it.
KB is a 14 billion year old virgin, and not entirely by choice. KB has no idea about these things, but would like to one day.
Heck yeah. What do you call it?
14 billion years.
That's a lot of years.
Goodness gracious.
Well, being a cybernetic angel, you have a lot of time on your hands. So 14 billion years might not seem like that long, depending on the context.
I will say, I think that our society as it exists places entirely too much importance and meaning on sex.
Yeah. The dominant culture makes it seem like that's what you should be.
Yeah, it makes it aspirational, and I think that that's really harmful and total bullshit.
It excludes us that don't have that experience.
Yes. That said, KB, if that's something you want in your life, I genuinely hope that you find it, and with a person that you feel like you can trust and connect with.
Yeah.
If that's what's required for you, it is for me, personally. Like, I couldn't have that experience with someone I didn't feel personally close to and connected with. But I'm Demi, and we're kind of a rare breed. In any case, you know, regardless of how your sexuality manifests, it's just a matter of finding both the right person or people
persons
and the right, like, circumstance in your life. And that's easier said than done for some people, and it's easier done than said for some people. But whatever it is that you want, I hope that you find it.
Yeah. I hope that you have a safe experience in exploring what it is that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's even, like, to go even more niche, the folks that are asexual and or aromantic, that they find joy in just themselves.
Yeah.
Like, there was a time in my life where I tried that and where I was just like, I'm gonna be just me for a while and see how I feel about that. And it was really good. And I don't regret being away from others.
Now, see, that's one of the things that's weird, that's maybe, like, a side of demisexuality that is equally extant. Because when I'm not with a partner, my outward facing sexuality completely goes dormant. It goes to sleep. And I can find fulfillment completely in myself, and that's fine with me. Like, I don't really feel a need to have another person around. I already enjoy my own company.
Yeah.
Plenty fine. Like, why should that not extend from the social into the sexual? That's completely okay with me.
You have to go through that experience to know if that's what's right for you.
Yeah.
And I want us all to have the opportunity to do that. And it feels like sometimes living in the binary and the atypical mainstream, that they even just cast that out as an option to explore.
Oh, and I had that experience plenty talking to normal people, to heteronormative people, to yeah, definitely.
They say things like, "Oh, you just haven't met the right person yet."
The number of times I've been asked by not even closely related, just family members, people who are cousins of cousins, about when I was gonna get married or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, why I wasn't yet, or have I met a good girl yet, or whatever. Like,
setting a standard on you.
Yeah, like, why do I look to you like that's a priority to me? Is that, like, is there anything about the way I'm living my life that makes you think that that's a thing I'm super after?
Yeah, it makes you feel a form of, at least for me, I felt a form of anxiety that this was the goal that I had to achieve in order to feel happiness, because of that expectation they set on me. And they didn't even consider that it could be a possibility. Like, I didn't have the realization of an avenue because of the standard they set. So I didn't even get a chance to try the other options. Which
I never
ostracized
felt
me
that way,
from
but,
it.
like, I have always been extremely resistant to authority. And so, like, every time somebody threw something like that at me, my first instinct was to swing a 2x4 at their stupid fucking faces. No, I never did that. I should be clear. I've never actually swung a 2x4 at somebody's stupid fucking face.
Yeah.
But I have wanted to. And in retrospect, there are some that I should have. Some people's faces could really stand to be rearranged by a fucking 2x4 to their stupid fucking faces. And many of them are directly related to me by blood. Many of them aren't, though. And I wouldn't object to you doing that at them. They have it coming. They're
when you
incredibly backward people.
Yeah, when you realize that it's a person that's doing harm on you purposefully to gate you and funnel you into their experience, like, you need to push back against that.
Yes.
Because they're only ever going to continue to do harm to others, which, if you have the realization of their harm perpetuating, if you can do something to prevent that, if you can save someone else that harm, you should do it.
Yeah.
If you have the means, you have the power. You have the responsibility. Sorry, that's the wrong phrase there.
Agree. I
Like, I think of my ex-husband a lot in these conversations, you know? He was the kind of person that was like, be my little wifey and do what I say.
Speaking of people who need their fucking faces rearranged by a 2x4.
Oh, yeah. Like, I doubt he's changed at all. And even if he has, you should still confront the consequence of his previous actions. Don't erase the harm he's done just because he's better now. You should uphold a person who's
given
done...
everything you know about him, he's definitely not better now.
Yeah.
He's still a gigantic piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. Probably
mistreating some other person as we speak.
Yeah, the moment I realized that he had another already, before we even were through the divorce, I was like, I felt such sorrow for her.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't feel a resentment or like, oh no, you're better than me for doing what he wants. It was more of a, I want you to realize the trap you're falling into.
Yeah.
I had empathy, you know? I was like, I've fallen into that trap that he set, and
yeah.
I don't know you. And you could totally be another bad person that has your own hang-ups of what trauma you induce in others, but I should at least try to give you the opportunity to not be harmed by this person and reinforce your trauma. Like, I don't want others to feel the experience I've experienced that has been negative.
Yeah.
And if I can see that happening, I should do something about it where I can, because we all have our own abilities to, you know, based on our traumas and our skill set, to counteract such things, to be able to take action. Like there's a lot of things I can't do as much as I spout, like I boost as much as possible. I use my voice where I can, but there are just some times where I'm so affected by past traumas that I can't do action. And I hope that me vocalizing in the ways I can let others that can do the action that I can't can use that action to the benefit of others in the way that I want but can't. And it's important to recognize that we shouldn't place blame on another for not taking action because maybe they have similar traumas and are unable of that action. We should connect rather than ostracize, just because we see a surface level of something, you know? Wow, we went really deep in this conversation. But it's important. It's important to see.
It needs to be talked about in the middle of a Horizon Zero Dawn stream.
Yeah. That's why I don't know if you saw me, but I rolled away from the scrapers because they were making such loud noises in their water traversing that I was like, I can't concentrate on what we're talking about, y'all. This is so distracting because of my personal experience of sensory experience of auditory aspects. That I can't concentrate. So let's go over here into these farther away bushes so we can have a good, meaningful conversation. And I like that. I like that this is more of a comfy couch connecting stream.
Yeah, the gaming is not really what's important here. We get talking about some stuff.
Oh heck, speaking of talking of stuff, let's address some of the words that have been thrown at us.
Let us do. KB says, I at least know I'm bisexual.
Heck yeah.
Aesthetically, I know I like... Hey, scroll.
Oh no,
Stop scrolling,
scroll down.
Aesthetically, I know I like women, and I like not hyper-masculine men, but the more androgynous individuals are those that really get my motor running. But regardless, while I crave physical contact, it also gives me anxiety. There's nothing else that I fear and want at the same time to that extent. I don't know what I'm saying, and I probably shouldn't post all this. No, you absolutely
Express
should post all
yourself.
this, because that kind of... I don't want to say confusion, but that kind of lack of understanding of oneself is very, very common, and you've got nothing to be ashamed of or confused about. It's the kind of thing one has to face off against in such an exclusively heteronormative world. Like, and it's one of the things that makes the confusion between sex and gender be real, and it's one of the things that like makes gender expression such a fucking minefield, and it's one of the big reasons why I mean, I guess I haven't done it very much on this stream, but I should start more being explicit about it, as the way I have been with among like all of my friend groups. Is I want to say both power to gender expression, no matter what your particular gender identity is, and also fuck gender expression, because it has done so much to confuse us all in terms of like what is or is not acceptable, when what is acceptable should be literally everything.
Yeah.
And your personal attraction should also be infinitely expressible, to the exclusion of anything that should tell you you should or shouldn't be attracted to whatever it is you're attracted to. Like, all of that is nonsense.
Yeah.
The thing is, unless you are fully ace, which is to say completely lacking any amount at all of sexual attraction to other humans, all people are kind of hot.
Yeah.
Like, most people have something about them that's extremely attractive. And if that's whatever it is that gets you going, then you should feel free to express that attraction.
Yeah. We shouldn't look at it and go, oh, that's weird or gross.
Yeah.
Like, and ostracize it. We should go, hey, that's you.
It's really
Celebrate
fucked up that it makes you question yourself, that it makes you wonder about like who you are or how you are, just like the fact that you find another human attractive. Like, it's the normalest thing in the entire world to find another human attractive for whatever reason, in whatever way. That's like the most human thing we do. Finding other people attractive is like one of the most foundational things about us as a social species. If we didn't find each other attractive for a massive variety of ways, our social cohesion would probably take a hit.
Yeah.
But our social cohesion is literally the thing that describes us as a species. It's the thing that makes us what we are as a species, and makes us as effective as we are at growing things and building things. If it weren't for all that, we would not have made it as far as living in this weird brick box that Rhiannon and I currently live on. Wouldn't enable this weird, practically bismuth-shaped box that is running the game that we're broadcasting to y'all on this very strangely suggestive, thick silicone, cylindrical shaped tube that is capturing our voices and sending it across the internet to y'all. Like, we're a strange animal. We're a fucking weird animal.
Yeah.
And we get up to some stuff.
Our diversity is our strength.
Yeah.
Is what it ultimately boils down to. And if we exclude any part of that diversity, we harm ourselves as a species. Because it's those most extreme parts of the diversity that allowed us to create new venues of our survival. And so to look at someone and go, you're weird, gross, I don't like you, and ostracize you, ultimately hinders us in the advancement of our collective enjoyment. And,
Yeah.
and I want to celebrate all of us, not just the ones that fit into the mainstream. I don't want to stagnate us. I don't want to say, hey, this is what you should be, so we stay where we are. I want to say, hey, what you got to contribute so we can do better.
Yeah.
And in whatever form that takes, you know? I want us all to be happy and experience the best of life while we're here. Because I know what it's like. Oh no, I'm getting emotional. I know what it's like to feel like you don't belong. And that you would rather... that your existence is hurting someone so much from the mainstream that your non-existence would be better. Like, I know what that feels like.
The sky's getting lighter.
Yeah, I know the sky's getting lighter. Like, we've been a whole day. I know, Aloy, but we're having important conversations. I just want us all to be happy while we're here. I want us all to feel included.
And cared for.
Yeah. Because we have the means. We're at a point in society, like, it's all built upon each other. Like, we started out with so little that we had to struggle to make that inclusion possible. But if we're at a point where it's so easily and beneficial to include others, why aren't we? To the folks that say, nah, be more like me or else, I say fuck you. Because you're only ever gonna make someone feel bad. And why would you do that? Why would you go out of your way, or even not out of your way, just neutrally go out of your way to make someone feel like they didn't count? Already by existing, you count. Sorry, y'all. You can't see it, but I'm crying. Because it hurts so much when I see others suffering. How could I not make them feel better as best I could? And when I see someone not doing that, I say, why? Why are you making others not exist when we already exist? I want everyone to be as happy as they can be. And I don't know if that stems from my autistic experience of trying to find the best joy things where I can, because the bad things feel really bad.
I do think the autistic sense of justice is a big factor. For sure.
Yeah.
And also, like, it's an illustration of the ways in which, like, it's such a stereotype that autistic people do not experience empathy.
When in fact we're the most empathetic.
We're actually
of us all.
incredibly empathetic. It's like crippling.
Yeah.
The level of empathy that we feel. It
creates
just that, like,
shutdowns and meltdowns.
the common understanding, or I should say misunderstanding, of the link between the experience of empathy and the ability to readily understand social cues. Like, those are completely different things, but they're conflated often in the mainstream.
Yeah.
But, like, feeling for other people that are going through hardship is not actually that fucking hard, and it seems like a lot harder for autistic people to attain than autistic people to attain. And yet the aulistics are the ones who rule society, and they, like, try to pin a lack of empathy on us when it's them doing the enabling of the suffering that constantly exists. by way of their fucking constant narrative of like, well, if they just did better, or they just understood more, or they tried harder, then they wouldn't be so destitute, or they wouldn't be homeless, or they wouldn't be whatever fucking thing. When it's like, you're making excuses for ostracizing humans and making them suffer more.
Yeah.
And we're the ones over here literally crying over the fact of the existence of that kind of ostracization and suffering.
Yeah.
What's your excuse for thinking that autistic people don't feel empathy again? I think that maybe you've misunderstood literally everything.
I think it's
person
because,
doing this fucking sham study.
Yeah, I think it's because they don't understand their experience, and so they look at us and go, you're not understanding our mainstream experience, so therefore you must not have empathy overall because you don't have empathy for us. Which I want to have empathy for you, but at the same time, it's hard to have empathy for you when you go out of your way to ostracize the extreme empathy that you say.
When you're the kind of person who makes excuses for why other people who are suffering are supposed to be suffering, and every time you hear a proposal for how they can suffer less and then object to it somehow with some bullshit explanation about like what human essentialism is, or how like it's literally no one's fault but their own that they're suffering, I've really got to question your understanding of how like these social issues come to be, how they manifest, how they exist. You aren't willing to hear that their problems might be systemic versus personal.
Yeah, that's another layer.
And I come to feel very quickly that I can't trust you to have the kind of compassion that's necessary to help these people, whoever they are, whatever their situations are. I think you might be full of shit. I think you might be looking for an excuse not to care about your fellow humans. I think you might be looking for an excuse not to help them. Because if you had any other concern, like a good one, like how to help them, how to get people out of really bad situations, you almost necessarily have to not blame them for the situations they're in.
Yeah. They're already in the mainstream of comfort of their experience. That anyone outside of their experience, they can easily just go, oh, it's your fault because you didn't mask or adhere to our standards, so it must be your fault. You should do what we do. But that negates and erases the other experience.
It's constant excuse making, and it's constantly reasons to find people who aren't exactly the same as you lacking in humanity, basically. Like, they don't have the basics necessary to make it. Well, you're only thinking of the basics necessary to make it in a very strictly current social lens, which is to say the form of liberal democracy, the form of mega capitalism that we currently exist in. You're treating that as if it's the default state of humanity and the only correct way for things to be. And if people can't adapt to that properly, if they can't quite deal with what it means to live in that kind of society, then they have a moral failing. They can't get by, and therefore they're worse as people because they can't do what most of us can do. Well, look, I got news for you.
Give me that.
Most people can't. Most people are failing under that system. Most people are miserable most of the time. It's only that most people aren't neurodivergent and therefore are able to succumb to the kind of social pressures that make them, for some reason or other, able to overcome their own overwhelmedness and give in to the pressure that exists under such a system because they fear the kind of social ostracization that comes from being unable to meet those same demands
That's why I mask
So they're
hard.
basically faking it all the time, only it doesn't fucking literally kill them. Where it actually does, no exaggeration, literally kill us.
A lot of neurodivergent, especially autistic folk, end up
We will actually end our own lives.
because that feels like it would be better than what we have. You know,
Yeah.
I think go back to this is why I like
Stopping
people
being
watching
alive
so much.
is easier than continuing to try to fit into a system that we just can't.
Yeah.
And if you can't look at that situation and recognize that it's incredibly fucked up, you have got some fucking searching to do. You've got some learning to do.
Yeah.
You've got some fucking empathy to learn.
Yeah. Like, I have cognitive empathy issues, which means, like, I can't, like, while I experience extreme empathy, I can't always understand what the emotion has been brought upon. Like, I don't know if that was the right phrasing, but, like, I can experience what another person is experiencing because of my high empathy, but unless they tell me and explain, I'll never fully understand, which
That
separates
you've got
me
like
from
high
their
empathy, but you
experience.
can't just intuit another person's feelings.
Yeah, and
Necessarily,
and-
depending on like how well you understand their experience
Yeah,
and their
and-
circumstance.
on their neurotypical experience or holistic experience in this case, they assume that you can intuit that, which makes you, like, from their perspective, they go, oh, you don't understand immediately, therefore you must be bad. Like, that's wrong.
Yes.
They should take the time to go, why don't you understand my experience? What can I do to help you understand the experience? That's super helpful to me when someone says, hey, I see you're distressed because of my distress. How can I go about connecting? We can all be connectors if we just take those extra steps to relate to each other. And so I super appreciate those that don't live my experience, that go out of their way to say, what can I do to make it better? What can I do to make it you understand? What can I do to include you? Because that's ultimately what it boils down to, is the inclusion aspect. That we can go hand in hand and say, hey, I understand you're different from me, but I'm here for you too, not just for myself. That I can extend the hand to say, hey, let's work this out and make it better for all of us, rather than the ones that go, oh gosh, you're making me uncomfortable, push you away. Because some of the strongest feelings I feel in my neurodivergence is the folks that go, you're making me uncomfortable, I'm gonna exclude you from everything, and it makes me feel so outside from everything that I don't feel like I can be a part of what everyone else is experiencing, which makes me go into deeper negative aspects. Like with my anxiety brain part, that runs such dangerous territory that I start going into such deep depression holes and anxiety holes that I feel like I would be better not being here, because I want to make at least someone else feel better, and if me not being here feels better for them, maybe that's what I should do. But I've gotten to a good point in my life that I realize, no, that's just a systemic issue of them not understanding me. Removing myself from the experience of them would actually not help anyone else. I have to look at it not only as a personal thing, but also a group thing. Like, I have to say, no, if I commit to removing myself, it's only going to make it harder for someone else that has my same experience to not connect, and then they'll probably delve into those negative aspects. So if I can stick around and be vocal and try to change where I can, maybe at least, even if it takes all my life of struggle, that maybe someone after me won't have to struggle as much. That's what I want. I want to help others not struggle as much as me. I'm not gonna look at my struggle and say this is what you should do. Like we should all like. Side note, I guess a little bit, but still connected. I see some comics of like people saying, "Oh, you didn't have it as hard as me. Why aren't you experiencing the same struggle that I struggled? Like you won't know if you didn't struggle like I struggled." That's still the same trapping of stagnation. It should be more of like, hey, you didn't struggle as much as me, and that's actually great because you didn't have to have as much harm as I have. That's actually a step up. That's actually a better thing. I shouldn't look at that and go and feel some sort of, I don't know if jealousy is the right word.
Yeah, jealousy or resentment for people who came after you and had it better. Like
that should be a good thing.
The whole goal is to make sure that people who come after you have it better than you. If you look at them having an easier time as something to resent, then you really should recognize that the times that you grew up in were unjust and fucked up.
Yeah.
That it's not the fault of people who came after you for having an easier life. Like, you really should feel anger and resentment that you had to go through what you went through, but like to recognize that things are better for people now and feel angry at the people who have it easier than you did is incredibly backward and fucked up. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what you should have been striving for. If you were worth a damn, you would have been one of the reasons why things are easier for people now than they were when you were their age.
I need to use the restroom again.
Oh, no.
Yeah, my bladder screams loudly, y'all, when it doesn't scream. That's a sensory experience of anything that has a immediacy I need to take care of. So I'm going to go do that. And Christopher, the love of my life, will be here with you, continuing the conversation.
Hey, for what it's worth, you got this voice to get you through the next few minutes.
It's a pretty awesome voice, I have to say. You have that radio announcer voice, which is immediately appealing. And I want you to feel hyped in that aspect of you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. I love you.
I love you.
I'm gonna smooch you. Maybe take a look at those messages, because I see some there.
I don't need guidance. I know how to do this.
No, but like, don't ostracize the words being thrown at you.
I don't.
Okay,
That's the opposite of the thing I was gonna do.
Okay. Go. Do your thing. Oh gosh, I pressed a button. I'm going now to the restroom so I don't press buttons.
Okay, scrolling back up just a little bit, because we did get off on many tangents there. Good ones, don't regret it, but we did miss some chats. KB said, "That's why I'm working on a plan to get out of the grind of a normal job. The thought of working a normal job for another 30 years fills me with dread. I can't do it, KB." God, I understand. Annoyingly, that's exactly the kind of job I'm trying to find right now, and every fiber of my being screams against doing it. I've been doing it already for a decade, and I know that that's going to make me decent money. I know that if I get into a job like that, I can easily support myself and Rhiannon without ever worrying about a dollar. We'll be fine if I can go right back to the same kind of white-collar job I had before. And as much as I want that security for us, I'm having so much trouble with the idea of going back to doing that kind of work. It's what spent a decade or more burning me out and making it impossible for me to function. I don't know what more to say about that other than I feel you. And I hope that you can find something that you find fulfilling that will get you by. Similarly, from KB, I am taking steps to reduce my monthly cost of living while expanding my side businesses, paid dungeon mastering, nice, and tutoring, nice, and VTubing a little, though I don't expect to ever make real money that way. Genuinely hope you do. The day I can quit my full-time job will be the greatest day of my life. I feel similarly, only I guess for me it's the day I can finally realize I don't need to have a full-time job, a normal, quote-unquote normal, heavy air quotes, normal full-time job, a white-collar job, or a blue-collar, any kind of a colored collar job, whether it's in construction, factory work, business administration, bookkeeping, which is like the sum total of all the stuff I've ever done. I'd be so much happier knowing that I didn't have to go back to that, and like the prospect of going back to it after being away from all of it for, gosh, a long time, a good long while. I did screen printing for about a year, part-time, but it's been almost a year and a half since I had a proper full-time job, and I'm not in any hurry to go back to either. Even as desperate as we are for money, we really, really do need to find some source of decent, like, sustainable revenue. But God, it's so hard to want to go back to doing that stuff. It just crushes you. It sucks your life away, and it's hard. KB says it's a nice voice. I will just assume you were talking about mine, and thank you. If you weren't, thank you on behalf of whoever you were talking about.
There's something inherently enjoyable about a low vibrating, but that might be my sensory experience of, like, when I hear your deep vibrating voice, it transfers over to my body and vibrates my body in an enjoyable way.
Yeah.
So that's just a me thing of sensory experience. But I'll still acknowledge it. Like, heck yeah. Give me those deep oohs.
Ooh. Cosmic says, you guys are great and awesome to listen to you talking. I feel like I learned so much.
We're happy to share the
That's
knowledge.
really deeply flattering, actually, Cosmics. And thank you for saying so. I feel like I'm often not articulate enough or well-informed enough to...
Me more so.
to spread the kind of things I feel like need to be learned, that it's really important that more people understand, but I try my best because I know how important it is. I know how much of a, like, perspective change and even life change it was for me to come to understand a lot of these things that I now view much more as systemic issues than personal or individual ones. Mm-hmm. That I want to make sure that more people understand, and the more people understand,
the more it spreads.
The more it spreads, and the more likelihood we all have of benefiting from the deep understanding of the ways things are now. Like, to blame people, other, capital O, other people, for our problems is almost never accurate. Mm-hmm. And to understand how these things work systemically almost always has greater explanatory and therefore predictive power than any of the explanations that we're constantly fed, and we need that understanding because it's the only way that we can prevent more of the same happening. We've just got to make sure that enough people are armed with the same knowledge combined with enough in the way of mutual aid network growth, making sure that people who are capable of being there for other people are there for other people, not just emotionally but materially.
Yeah.
And that we can use those new structures to build the kind of power that we need to oppose the kinds of power that currently constantly oppress us.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure that our needs are never met.
Yeah.
It's literally the most important thing we can do. Make sure that we provide for our fellow humans.
Yeah.
There's nothing more important than that.
Because no matter what our experience is perspective-wise, we gotta boil it down to the basics of survival of we need oxygen and food and shelter from the elements. And currently especially in the US system, we don't have that covered, medical and all that, Education's important because education is what enables us to explore our passions, to contribute to society in the best ways of
Yes.
what fits into our individual
To find the
aspect.
kind of meaningful contribution that we can make that will most directly impact the lives of other people in positive ways.
Yeah, because when you live in a system that says we need X amount of Y, and we're going to force people into those roles so we can sustain that number, that only ever harms a person that was like, I could have been a scientist, but because I didn't have the material means to allow me to get there, I have to fulfill a role that's required of, like, something else that doesn't fit my skill set. It only harms people, Like, I want us to get to a point where people can be covered in their survival means, that they can explore their passions to do the best they can in what they do and enjoy to contribute to society, rather than I have to gruel and break through the harm and sustain the harm. I don't know if I'm using the right word there. In order to contribute to society, like, yeah, we need so many of a certain aspect of whatever, the scientist or engineer or someone who takes out people who work in waste disposal and stuff. Like, there are jobs out there that are just so traumatic but still necessary. I feel like a lot of, like, particularly US systems say we're gonna just force people into that.
Well,
that
it's worth
doesn't
understanding
make it
that most
better.
of those jobs, if they're traumatic at all, are only traumatic because of the current mode of production.
Yeah.
That, like, for instance, being in waste disposal needn't be harmful or potentially sickness inducing, needn't be traumatic. It's mainly because of the profit motive that exists.
Yeah.
And, like, where it comes to workers like that are workers in no uncertain terms, but who don't produce anything.
But without
They don't
them-
actually generate value because they don't generate saleable products, have an essential function
Yeah.
within our society. We need people who do work like that.
Surgeons.
And
That's
if
another one.
it was true that those people could do that kind of work in a way that reduces the harm potential of doing that kind of work, and understood how essential they are to the functioning of our society, well, then the work could actually become quite pleasant, hopefully,
Yeah.
if it was implemented properly.
Because
There would be, like, the inherent respect and dignity that a person who was doing that kind of work should have. And not viewed as simply, another cog in the machine, not viewed as
Yeah.
being expendable because they do work around things that we find expendable. Like, they're
Yeah.
working with refuse, and therefore we think that they are human refuse. And I can't imagine many things more harmful than that.
Yeah.
KB says, I haven't told a lot of people yet, but one day I might inherit this house from one of the archangels someday. And if I do, it's my hope to use it as a commune/streamer house sort of thing. If I end up with it, I want to use it to help as many people as possible get into less exploitative jobs/situations.
Hell yeah.
If that's within your power, I absolutely think that's something you should do. It's also worth understanding that most people will never have that power, and that you will only ever reach so far with that kind of a goal.
But
Not to dissuade you from doing so, it's just worth understanding that the problems that people have are systemic ones, are not individual ones, and that
until the change is made to prevent that needing to be, definitely take upon yourself the powers you have to make it as best for people as you can. Right on, KB. Hell yeah. If you get that, I hope it blossoms into something that helps so many others. Because that's, in the system we live in, the best we can do is using those tools to our benefit as much as possible. Until it comes to a time that we can break that and make it to where that doesn't even need to be.
doing whatever you can do within your means to help other people is always going to be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. KB, you are an awesome individual that has done nothing but show me kindness and your motivation to uplift others. And that makes me very happy to know you. And it makes me very happy to get to be a part of what you do. And I'll always do my best to help others that, not yourself, but others that do that, you know, so that we can foster.
Well,
go ahead.
But KB also.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Not only you, but others.
Not only you. Okay, you said not yourself, but others. And I was like, well, no, but
I should have worded that differently. I apologize for my miswording. Sometimes I don't word so good. You're very welcome, Kibi, and thank you back for being a rad individual that does those things. Because I think I was talking about this on my streaming. That it was the other day or today. I don't remember because time is a void that
not
I don't
today.
understand.
Today's Tuesday.
Yeah. So probably yesterday. I was talking about how like words are cheap. So many people will say things and not take action upon those things to make an appearance to others coming in, to make them feel like they're quote unquote better.
Yes.
And it's the ones that take the action that really are truly the ones we should support. Because if we only support...
The people actually trying their damnedest to help other people through things and to lift other voices and to materially support people who fucking need it.
Yeah, we live in a material existence. It's the material aspects of our action that impact people directly. And those are the things we should uplift the most, rather than saying, hey, y'all, this cool celebrity that said a positive thing, I love them because they said this thing, and then their actions betray their words. Like, that causes more harm. That we uplift those that say the nice things but don't do anything will only continue that aspect of, I'll say the right things to get the money. Like no, we should direct our support towards actionable material causes. Because that leads to the change we need to make it so that words actually have meaning, rather than a false meaning.
Yeah.
So this is why, like, I support folks like KB. I support folks like Rumi. I support words are hard right now. I support folks like Pan who do the action needed to make us not only feel supported in the current system we live in, but to strive towards something better.
To get the word out that something else is possible.
Yeah.
That we can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
But we won't do something better than this without a very strong sense of the need for mutual support.
Very much
The
agree.
need to materially impact other people's lives in a positive way.
Mm-hmm. And I do the best where I can, you know. We still have to have that understanding of, like, not everyone can impact the material as effectively because of the current system. Like, we still have to, like, gravitate towards the ones that have the most power and privilege to affect change. But we shouldn't put them on a pedestal.
No, we don't.
They're the only ones.
We don't need to
it.
gravitate toward those people. We need to make them irrelevant by doing the work necessary to get ourselves by for ourselves. Now, what we're doing with these strictly online cross cooperatizings is not immaterial. Like, that's an important thing for us to do. This is one of the things that exists now. That we need to recognize exist now. And a lot of us are. A lot of us do. And it's doing a lot to support other people. The idea of, like, latching on to people who have the means currently to support broad swaths of people, I mean, it's good that there are people like that who exist that want to help, but depending on them is the same as depending on the other apparatuses that exist that are doing nothing for most of us most of the time.
Yeah.
We need to support each other directly
It's like saying
for that to be effective.
the current culture of, like, oh, just support the billionaires that say they'll do good, that are doing some good things to benefit more. Like, when we give them that power, when we say, hey, you're the one that's going to make the
We
change.
put philanthropy in the hands of the people
Yeah.
who are capable of enacting it, and that's the difference between charity and mutual aid. It doesn't make any sense to put the means of distribution of aid in the hands of the people who already have the most power. They already aren't doing anything for most of us, so why would they then change their minds when we change the phrasing from handouts to charity? They don't actually do anything different when they stop doing resistance to handouts and start doing a voluntary charity. Like, they're the same fucking thing, just dressed in different clothes, and they allow them the same kind of breaks, mostly tax breaks,
Yeah.
and allow them to distribute exactly the same amount of nothing. They're not releasing any amount of their wealth into the world. They're just deciding who does and does not deserve any additional help. And I really have a hard time believing, given the way that everything has gone in the last literal century plus, that those people have any fucking clue who needs the help most. They've tended not to do that great when vested with that kind of power.
Yeah.
We're not going to do any of this with them. Y'all, we need each other. We are the only ones who are going to help us through all this.
Yeah. I need to use the restroom again.
Well,
I'll be back.
we should, before you do that,
No, I, like, immediately need to use the restroom for, like, tummy reasons.
okay.
I love you, and I love you all watching, but I feel sickly and need to go take care of that.
I'm gonna go ahead and do the outro then.
I wish I could be here with you to do that, but I can't right now.
It's okay.
And I love you.
I love you. All right. Well, we have been ranting long enough. I say with absolutely no shame. I love our rants. I love it when we get off onto some pretty important topics. Love you back, Cosmetics. Thank you for always sticking with us. I do believe that calls it for us tonight. We are going to go ahead and end the stream. I think I wish I had Rhiannon's raid list in front of me, but I don't. So I don't think we're going to do any raids tonight. Nice chatting with you, KB. It's always nice chatting with you. You're a lovely person. It's been great getting to know you lately. Thank you for always being around. And thank you for anybody who's been around but is lurking. We love our lurkers. We love anybody doing either explicit or implicit support. Means a lot to us. Oh, it's been great getting to know you too. So, meantime, between now and next time, which is probably not going to be tomorrow, we do have a thing planned for tomorrow night. What day is it? It's Tuesday. Tomorrow's Wednesday. We will probably be back Thursday night. You can see us again doing more Raccoon City Zombies. You can see us doing more Robot Dinosaur Future, or maybe some other game. Not saying we're like eager to jump, but we both do have a lot of brain teleportation magic going on, and we might just gravitate towards some other thing by then, but we probably won't. But we might, you know. It's always a grab bag. And you're basically pretty sure to get some pretty relevant, potentially heavy conversation out of us if we go long enough as it has tonight. Not something either one of us is averse to or worried about engaging in. But anyway, I will stop rambling. We love you all very much. We appreciate you being here and your support, and always will. In the meantime, where's the controller? I was like, oh wait, where's the stream end button? I found it. It's fine. We're gonna go ahead and go. Hope you all have a lovely night. We have had a lovely night so far, and we'll see you soon. Dream well, y'all.